It's November 26, 2005, and over 400 people on Vancouver Island have gathered to celebrate this year's Festival of the Covenant. The event came to life as audience members entered the lobby of the theater, greeted by paperboys who handed out the newspaper programs with headlines and articles from the Master's visit to North America. The lobby was charged with excitement as guests were treated to stories of the early believers. Actors shared wisdom gleaned from first encounters with the Master. Larger-than-life portraits of the early believers decorated the lobby. Guests were carried away on a journey into the past. One new Baha'i commented that he went away feeling he had deepened considerably in his history of the faith and was overwhelmed by the power of the use of drama. Another said that it was like an all-encompassing visual and auditory fireside that touched the soul.
From the moment I heard the message of Baha'u'llah, it was as though I had been struck by a thunderbolt. The air itself seemed charged with the truth of these teachings as question after question was answered.
Hey guys!
What are you doing?
A school project.
What are you gonna make?
An ark.
What's an ark?
A boat.
You mean like the one from the Bible that Noah built?
Yep.
Auxiliary Board member Shohreh Rasech and National Spiritual Assembly member Mark Wedge integrated inspiring talks into the program. Vignettes of the early Western believers explored their relationship to the center of the covenant, Abdul-Baha, while junior youth enacted a skit on the theme of the Greater Covenant. In it, they discussed a school project on Noah's Ark, giving one student the opportunity to introduce Baha'u'llah as the renewal of that age-old promise. Original music composed by J.B. Eckel, accompanied by Alicia Kundal on harp, tied one touching moment to another.
And now I give you a commandment which shall be for a covenant between you and me, that ye have faith.
Prisoner in Akko who holds the key to peace. May immediately cried out, I believe, and fainted then and there. Well, it seemed she had had a vivid dream of a man in oriental robes.
That evening, as we gathered for supper, I was to once again serve as interpreter for these beloved visitors, the first pilgrims from the Western world. He did not sit at the table. Rather, he waited upon them with his own hands.
Then, as my fascinated gaze was upon him, his eyes met mine. He smiled, and with a gesture that could only be described as lordly, he beckoned me. Startled gives no hint of my sensations. He spoke, and in my own tongue, softly came the assurance that I was his very dear son.
I foolishly said to him, I have traveled 3,000 miles to come and see you. He turned and smiled at me and said, I traveled 7,000 miles to see you.
The One Human Family Community Gospel Choir, directed by Eric Dozier and conducted for the event by Shelley Kelly, rocked the stage with spirit-infused music that galvanized the entire event.
I first met Abdu'l-Baha when I heard Lua speak. It was late 1907, and I was living in Washington, D.C., and I had agreed to attend a Baha'i meeting to humor the fancy of a dear friend. Now, although Abdu'l-Baha was still a prisoner in Palestine, his presence was reflected in Lua's radiant face. A flame was kindled in my heart as the spirit of that small group overcame the dark and stormy night.
Abdu'l-Baha saw in us the first dawning of those rays of the West. Meeting him galvanized our beings. Like the disciples of Christ. Like the disciples of Christ. Like the disciples of Christ, our mission was clear. We were loath to leave his presence. But as the hour approached, he asked us for his sake not to weep. And waited to speak until tears had ceased.
The finale integrated children from 7 communities who had been learning about the covenant through stories and music for several weeks. Young Brandon McLeod led the song Ark of the Covenant. The song The Ark of the Covenant, written and composed by Laura Lee, charts God's greater covenant from Noah to Baha'u'llah, and his covenant from Abdu'l-Baha to the Universal House of Justice.
The Universal House of Justice charts and guides our way. In the Ark of the Covenant, they survive the storm. In the name of the Ark of the
The choir ended the event with a reprieve of In This Day. It had been a truly glorious festival.